actually reveal to you where my studio is today.
Yay!
Jump into the coach boat and they hug each other and they celebrate together because it's such a teamwork.
It's just that now we have to be super conscious that we're producing more waste, and we've got to be better at giving it a second use.
We were going to try and pledge to make these changes, and then we thought actually it'd be really cool if other athletes, other sailors could get on board to kind of leave no trace or leave wherever you've been cleaner than how you found it.
We are going to sail Port Stephens.
I think we pretty much cooked dinner for everybody.
Dennis Thompson is a PRO. Miss Stacey Jackson.
Yeah, do you think you could smuggle a sausage sandwich across the border for me?
To get this boat, this platform, and they put up this whole thing for you guys. If I hear any complaining, get out of here.
Which of you was on board when this happened?
I was on the weather side of the boat, going underwater, holding my breath. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I was on the leeward side of the boat, getting blasted with water from behind. So
wasn't that the 47 knots, you guys?
Yeah.
It was a really good cause to cover all of those boats that don't normally get covered.
This is Nick Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl, keeping you covered for your Rolex Sydney Hobart coverage.
If we don't have an equal education system for girls and boys, women will never be equal.
Girls have to look like this, be like that, be like this, do that. But when you're at sea, you don't have to wash, you don't have to dress properly, you don't have to do your hair. It sounds like being in lockdown.
I love it. I mean, seriously, I have washed my hair for you for the first time in a very long time. And
looking back on it, it was like the Anzac spirit. You know, if there's one thing that our country is proud of, it's our ability to fight when our backs are to the wall. Part of the problem, or part of our challenge, is the tall poppy syndrome in Australia, having lived in the US a lot and other parts of the world. And I felt that one of the biggest hurdles that we have as a nation is when people are successful, they try and kind of, they're uncomfortable with success. Hopefully we're growing out of that.
we could continue all night, I'm sure, hearing your beautiful stories and your memories. But again, I just want to reiterate, it's not 7 years that you've served your country or inspired others. It's definitely been a lifetime. And for me, before I was born. So
thank you, Nick. Thank you very much. And what you're doing is terrific for the sport and terrific for sailing. And as I said at the start of this little interview, this whole online thing is just a game changer. So I think it's really, really exciting.
And the answer, of course, is you've just released your 19th book. 19 books.
It's still behind me.
I know, because how many have you written, Bob?
36.
And Nick, the other great thing about the sport is that it's a fabulous leveler. Doesn't matter who you are, where you've come from, how much money you've got, what success you've had or not had, you're a sailor and that's all that matters. And I think that's one of the greatest things about our sport is this common bond. No matter where you are in the world, if you're a sailor, you're welcome with open arms.
I think you'll agree a fourth time is that it was so lovely to have you guys on the show tonight and to see you catching up and to reminisce about so many great times that you've been involved with, and thanks for everything that you've given to sailing. It's been amazing.
Thanks, Nick. You're doing a great job.
Doing my best.
Thank you, Nick.
Trying to follow in your footsteps. We're both integral parts of the 2000 Olympics.
Yeah, look, and what a sensational Olympics, Sydney was. No one could ever say that you'd ever have a better regatta than Sydney.
There were 2,000 participants.
2,000 participants. 29 people got it correct. What was the name of the New York Yacht Club defending boat in the 1887 America's Cup? And have a little bit of a think about the theme for this week. Was it A, Mayflower, B, Vigilant, C, Volunteer, or D?
It had to be volunteer, Nick.
Indeed! Welcome, everybody. Week 13 of Adventures Weekly. Yes, we have been locked down for that long. And it is the 13th of June as well, so we've got a double 13 happening. Well, it's 13 here in Australia anyway. Our guest is actually still on the 12th, so that's a little bit of luck coming our way, at least. Now, as always, on the line, we have our magnificent Tiana. Where are you?
Hey, Nick, I'm in Edgecliff.
Woohoo! Right near the CYC and Wallara Sailing Club. Any sailing?
There were a few boats out this morning, but it was just so nice to be close to the water and seeing everyone hustling and bustling around the club. It was lovely.
Oh, no, we're starting to relax things a little bit down here, everybody. So I'm sorry if you're in a part of the world it isn't at that point yet, but our winter series has started back up again, and we're just waiting now to hear what else might be happening in the northern part of our country for that season. So without further ado, let's get straight into the first segment of the day.
Sailing news in 60 seconds-ish.
Yes, it is sailing news in 60 seconds. Well, it might be a bit more than 60 seconds because we're actually starting to get a bit of news, which is very exciting. To start with, after we've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks now, New Zealand, the coalition government, has caved. They are going to let the America's Cup teams come in. Basically, in a nutshell, I will post a link to the story on my Facebook after this if you want more detail. But basically, we know that American Magic and Ineos Team UK have already got in their applications to head down into New Zealand, into the bubble. They'll still have to do a 2-week lockdown at their own expense, but they are allowed in. And this, of course, happened after the crew of Avatar 2, the movie, were allowed in at the end of May, and the sailors weren't given the same, basically, respect, I'm going to say. So really nice to see that that's happening. Now, Tia, I'm going to replace your face. Is that all right? Can I replace your face?
Yeah.
You'll appreciate it. Bye. I'm just going to put a little picture in here, which is of the AC boat. This is for the Youth America's Cup. It's called the AC9F, and it's been launched and it's flying in New Zealand. So that's very exciting. I know that Tiana's been following the Youth America's Cup quite closely, so I'll try and get her back up on the screen. There she is. So that's the boat that they're going to use for the America's Cup. It's launched, it's flying, it's now anticipated that should start to happen, and we'll see those teams get the same allocation as the official challengers and, of course, the Defender and the Challenger of Record. No word yet from Luna Rossa and when they'll be heading down, but it's looking more like September, October, whereas Ineos Team UK and American Magic, we'll hear a bit more about that in a second, following on from our guest, but they are heading down basically as soon as possible. Now, in terms of the Amoccas, it is looking like the Vendée Globe is set to go ahead on the 8th of November. So instead of seeing the race that was meant to start in June, what was it called? I'm just flicking through here. There was meant to be a race that started on the 16th of June, which is called the New York Vendée Les Sables still on. That isn't going to go ahead. Instead, they're having on the Saturday of 4th of July at 15:30 French time, 22 skippers will set sail on the Vendée Arctic Les Sables d'Olonne, so just around the Arctic and avoiding the US effectively so that there's no issues there. Hugo Boss has gotten a new keel back on and they're set to go as well. That's in our headlines. And unfortunately, the Long Beach Yacht Club has cancelled the 2020 Congressional Cup. One of our first news items was that it had been postponed when we first started this show. Do you remember, T? And you were very excited. Yeah, you were meant to go to that event. But it was initially postponed from April to October. Now it's actually been cancelled due to the difficulty of travelling at the moment. And on that, we might get to our guest of the week. We might bring him straight in. He knows how difficult it is to travel around the world at the moment. But he is an 11-time world champion as far as we can tell. He's currently the skipper of American Magic, the New York Yacht Club Challenger for the next America's Cup. Welcome, Terry Hutchinson. How are you?
I'm doing well, Nick. Thanks. How are you?
I'm so good.
Where are you?
I'm
you
actually
in
in Canberra. I'm in Canberra, which is our capital city. It's inland.
All right.
It's a bit weird.
All right. That is a bit weird.
It is very weird.
It's fun to listen to you all talk about getting back out on the water because we got out last Wednesday, a week and a couple of days ago on the first Wednesday night racing that, as far as I can tell, has taken place in the United States, and it was a beautiful night. Got to sail with my kids and my niece and and some family friends and stuff like that. And it's just, it's intoxicating.
Oh,
So it was really good.
it's amazing how much you realize you've missed it once you get back out. Unbelievable.
No, I'm
We're
with you
very,
there.
very good at coping. So you managed to get back out with the family, which is the most important thing. When can we expect you guys to be training again to start off with?
Yeah, I mean, it's as you pointed out, things have gone reasonably well. Not reasonably well. Things have gone very well for the team. The New Zealand government, I would say, from our perspective, has they've done a really good job managing an exceptionally tough situation, and we're incredibly thankful for the fact that they've given us our exemptions into the country, and Defiant's on her way there right now. She's about 500 miles west of Mexico on her way into the South Pacific and into Auckland. So she'll be there kind of, I think, around the 25th, 26th of this month. And, with the exemption, there's a process that's going to take place in getting team members and family members in there. And our, so we're waiting early next week. We'll have some comms from MB in New Zealand, which is kind of the governing body towards helping us through this and making sure that when we come into New Zealand that we're doing it in a fashion that isn't putting a massive burden on the system, and that we come in, the boat can come in, the shore team can come in, and then stage it a couple days later that we get the rest of the team and try to, as best we possibly can, just make sure that when we integrate into the community that we're safe and smart and respectful of the opportunity that we're being given. So that's the plan. If it goes really well, we'll sail somewhere around the 20th of July.
Yay.
If it goes really poorly, nothing to do with New Zealand. It's when I say it goes well or poorly, it's just our logistics and stuff like that. Then we'll be sailing the following week. So, but all's good. It's nice to have clarity. This is a funny old competition, and it's great to hear just in your introduction there, hearing the great one, John Bertrand, speaking. And, I know you all weren't around when that race was held, but I was 14 years old in 1983 when Liberty lost to Australia 2. And what an incredible course that one race put on the America's Cup and really for our sport. And it's amazing. A couple of weeks ago, New York Yacht Club they released a 3-part series with Dennis. And Dennis was talking about that last day, and he was talking about the regatta. And, I think what I took away from it was he felt that they were lucky to get that far into the series and to get to a sudden death winner take all race, because he knew Australia 2 was a lot faster. And it's fascinating to hear, from those guys, the details of that race. And because it has so much history in our sport and everything, that it's awesome to listen to those just nuggets of absolute America's Cup gold.
It's funny that you say that, because one of the bonuses of COVID for me has been the opportunity to talk to a lot of people in depth. Tiana has raced against John Bertrand, but didn't know the significance of 1983 until we actually interviewed him. So that was really fun. But
that's cool though, huh?
Yeah, so cool.
I mean, there was a great documentary that I happened to find. Somebody sent it to me on YouTube about Australia 2's win, and there was a lot of talk about I guess Bisho's dad became the boat captain, and how they were talking about how the boat was so unreliable in the early stages of the competition. And kind of 35% of the way through, they said, all right, Mr. Bisho, you're taking this on, and you're going to be responsible for the reliability of the boat. And he goes on to tell the stories about how fragile everything was on the boat and how hard they were pushing the technology. So they win the regatta. The day after the regatta, they go out for a sail. And on the first tack, the main falls down because the headboard ripped off. And, when you think about it in that context, so the very first tack that they were on after they win the regatta, the main falls down. And it's just like, well, good thing they didn't have to do one more tack.
100%.
So,
Wow.
you know, yeah, I know. So it's stuff like that it's just, it's very humbling because, you know, this is a hard regatta to win. And I say that because I've never done it, and winning's never easy. And there's so few people, even over the course of almost 170 years, there's so few people that have actually, you know, that we know that have been in the position to win the regatta and have executed on it. And I always laugh at Dennis's comment, which is, you know, there's a lot of people that claim to be America's Cup sailors, but so few people have actually sailed in the match. And he's right. And that's the intrigue, and that's what makes the competition so unique. So I don't know, it's an addiction, that's for sure.
Definitely. But it's funny that you say that, because the last New York Yacht Club defender was Liberty in 1983. That's the last time that a New York Yacht Club represented boat made the match. And now you're representing the New York Yacht Club. That's a pretty amazing amount of history right there too.
Yeah, well, you just gave me goosebumps, because it's one of those things that when I think about that 14-year-old kid sitting in the local sailing pub in Annapolis, Maryland, watching Liberty basically give up a minute lead at the last top mark. And, you know, I mean, it's sailboat racing. So if you fast forward to this moment, as I was growing up and coming through, you know, just the sport, I mean, I've been a member of the New York Yacht Club for almost 25 years, but I don't think I appreciated the significance of the club's spot in the sport until really becoming involved and spending a lot of time with the club leadership and meeting the flag officers and really getting to know the genuine enthusiasm that the club has for the sport, and how they redefine themselves after losing the cup, and how they've become this great promoter of sailing, be it in Corinthian or in supporting America's Cup team, and really covering all aspects of the sport. And it's in that way, now I go into the model room in the 44th Street Clubhouse, which if you ever get the chance, you both can please come as my guest. It's unbelievable the amount of history that's in there and on the walls. So it's it's taken this long to appreciate the significance of it. And yet I think back to that 14-year-old kid sitting on a bar stool watching that race, you know, and getting to this moment in the sailing career. It's definitely, you know, it's an honor, and it's incredibly special. So
I don't think you would want it any other way than thinking about it in that way, that a 14-year-old kid was able to look at that, be inspired by it, and then be where you are now. So on the flip side, that's pretty cool. Think about your kids.
I think you're right. And, you know, time will tell how this whole event goes. You know, it's definitely unique, and all the teams have been thrown for an unbelievable loophole with this whole worldwide pandemic. And yet how lucky are we to enjoy your show and see some of these great legends, you know, seeing the interview with Fish and Rob Mundell and John, and seeing some of the great people and it was so in your introduction, when I think it was Rob that was talking about anywhere you go in the world, if you're a sailor, you have a family.
It's so cool.
You know, it's so true, and it's so cool. And that's probably one of the best things about our sport. He's absolutely right when he speaks about that, because it is, you know, here we are, definitely separated by generation, but we're all sailors. So we all have something in common straight away.
Indeed. And we all love sailing with our family. I grew up sailing with my dad. He grew up sailing with his dad, Tiana. I mean, T's dad's been my coach. I've been her coach. That's all crosses over.
I got to be honest with you, though. I'm not so sure about the episode in the pool there. That's, you know, that
was when I was thinking, oh boy, what am I going to do if I can't get in a boat for however long? Let's do this.
Yeah. Good on you for taking it on, though.
Thank you. That was the mirror. That was the first time the refurbished mirror had actually been back in the water. So, yeah,
all right.
It's the boat my sisters learnt to sail on. So, and they're younger than
me.
So we've had that boat a little while.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's nice to have that stuff in the family. Well, this week,
absolutely.
Not only the COVID loophole, but by the way, and I know that's thrown you all for a spin, but the new AC75 foiling on a monohull yacht, that's been another challenge. The Mule was one of the first.
Yeah, that is a challenge.
Yeah, the Mule was one of the first training boats we saw foiling.
Yes.
I mean, tell me about that kind of sailing.
It's incredible. You know, the neat thing about the foiling, and I'm an absolute rookie at it, and it's awesome to sit and listen to Dean and listen to Goody and listen to Andrew Campbell and listen to the guys that have a lot of experience at this side of our sport. Because every day you go out on the water, it's new, it's exciting. The difference between the 75 and the Mule, you were really into you were in it and you could feel the speed of the boat. The Mule was, it was, as you rightfully pointed out, I think it was the first scale boat that was up and foiling. And although Ben put his out as well, he was out a couple of weeks before us, so that's not completely true. And he showed the world what these potential boats were going to be capable of. But the Mule, you felt the sense of speed. On the 75, you don't feel the speed, but when you get off the boat, there's an adrenaline rush that is, I mean, I'm always, when I come off from sailing and you're grinding and you're doing all the stuff that you need to do, it's an unbelievable rush. And that's you get done with your day and you're so tired, but you're ready for the next day. And that's the exciting part about it too, is that it's such a different aspect of our sport. And so every day that you get up and you go to work, you know for a fact that you're going to learn something new and different. And that's, that's awesome. Yeah. And that, in a very simple way, when I got onto the J70 last week, I had so much fun because it was something that I hadn't done in a couple of years' time. And so you gain a huge appreciation for all the aspects of sailing that we do.
And I think it's very important what you say there, because even though it's a leveler and even though we love it so much, when it does become your job, and for anyone who is a 14-year-old sitting on a bar stool listening, when it does become your job, you really do need to avoid what I call getting stale or getting sick of something that is a passion. So maybe the good thing that's going to come out of the lockdown is that appreciation.
Yeah, the simple answer is yes. And you guys, I'm sure from afar see all the news that's going on in the world and stuff like that. And I know this is about sailing. So it's, there is a genuine sentiment, I think, in what you're talking about. And you see it when you walk around. And one of the things that, through all the craziness that's going on in the United States, one of the things that somebody was speaking about that I thought was just quite interesting was there needs to be a certain level of sincerity in everything that we do. Yeah. And that was the neatest thing about walking around the boat park last week, was there was a genuine sincerity of people just being happy to be back out on the water and to be around friends and, our extended families. So in that regard, it was just, it's just awesome.
It is awesome. Whenever I get it on the water with people who don't know me, they'll often say to me, "Oh, do you not get to do this very often?" I'm one of the lucky ones. I probably get to go on the water more than most. Sometimes it's just a rib, but I'm still so excited. And I hope that out of this, there are other people who feel that genuine excitement that I feel every time,
No,
So,
no, that's right.
It's a pretty special thing.
That's absolutely
a
right.
diehard.
That's
why we can do
That's a good thing, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Fellow diehards unite. Now, we had a trivia competition run this week, Terry, and it featured yours truly. So we've had quite a few people taking part in our trivia competition. I think we had 2,500 people this week.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, we get quite a few people playing. So I saw that Charlie Enright was playing. He didn't win, so he doesn't know you very well. Little bit of a shout out to some famous Americans.
It's awesome to see what Charlie and Mark are doing.
Absolutely.
And, I hope they win the next round of the world race because they're due.
Oh, they're fantastic. I know, but like speaking of where you started your career, we were talking off air, and you didn't even remember. So the first question is, in what year did Terry Hutchinson win the Congressional Cup? And a shout out to everybody who have actually had to make that really tough decision to call that off for this year, because I know they tried really hard to make it happen. But for all those who answered 1992,
oh my God.
Only 7 years before Tiana was born.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is
a while ago.
Many that is many moons ago. The funny thing is the current Commodore of the Long Beach Yacht Club, Charlie Legeman, was my host the year that we won. And so, when he told me what they were planning on trying to resurrect it and doing it in the fall in the Solings, it's just, it was a great idea. And it was, like you just said, it's unfortunate that they had to pull back on it, but
they really tried.
Everything happens for a reason. Yeah.
That is correct. So. Yeah, and hopefully they'll just come back with even more of vengeance next year. And I know the World Match Racing Tour in general tried to get off the ground again this year, and it just wasn't to be, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, the Long Beach Yacht Club, if there's one thing they'll do, they'll come back.
They will come back. I have great faith. Now, here's another blast from the past for you.
I'm going to have to call you out on this one.
You're going to correct
Nick.
us?
Yeah. It wasn't a Corel 45.
It wasn't a Corel 45. What's he?
No. It was a J24. So.
It was a J24. There you go.
Yeah.
We'll see if she got this question correct. What was it called at least? Because T reckoned it was called Titan. What was the J24 called?
Well, that was the Corel 45, but the J24 was called Avita.
Avita. There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's a fine. That's a shout.
I love doing this with T. I've got no responsibility. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. J24. Now we'll see if you got this one right. You ready,
San
T?
Francisco Bay.
San Francisco Bay. Oh, wow. Great place to sail.
Yeah.
J24s.
It is a great place to sail. Gosh. Yeah.
I've done a lot of match racing on J24s.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was a great, it still is a great boat. I mean, last year, the Worlds were in Lake Garda, I think last year, and they had 106 boats.
106?
It's just, yeah,
that's crazy.
It is crazy, but I mean, again, it's a testament to the boat. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Well, J24, Avita. Now,
Avita.
In what 2 years was Terry Hutchinson named Rolex Yachtsman of the Year?
Ooh.
We know. Do you remember?
Well,
I know.
Now.
Tiana's nervous now.
Yeah.
2008,
I just want you to know we're on. There you go.
Yeah. Yay.
Nice.
And that was for...
Nice.
That was when you had the big run with Plenty in 2014, wasn't it?
Yeah, Plenty and
and Bella.
2014 was Plenty and Bellamente and the TP52.
Yeah.
So we had a pretty good run through. I mean, the Plenty was incredible. I mean, that was we did our first regatta with Alex in Cabrillo Beach, and we were second. And then the next 5 regattas we won
on the trot.
And it was. I mean, occasionally it all goes your way. And,
absolutely. I was there in Sydney when you won in Sydney, and that was a great regatta. That was a great regatta because we partly because we were winning in Long Beach at the
first top mark, and we coughed up the lead in the regatta and ended up second. And it was, as I was saying earlier, winning is exceptionally hard to do. And so every time you miss that opportunity, it keeps you awake at night. And so that regatta was in October in Long Beach, and then the Worlds in Sydney were in February. And so it was a very short window, and we were able to get back into it. But that was a great regatta. It was great sailing. We did 3 days outside, and we did 1 day inside in the harbor because the sea state outside was so heinous. But it's great sailing, as you all know.
It was amazing, that regatta too. I've never seen Farr 40s surfing 4-meter swells before.
Yeah.
It was
the
awesome.
first day was awesome. Yeah, the first day was really good. It was really rough. But it wasn't, it was just good, going downwind. I mean, that was what the boat was made for sure.
Farr 40s planing like a dinghy. Give that to me any day of the week.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But what you just said then about when you lose a regatta, I think that's something really interesting to pick up on, because people will say to you on the last day of the regatta, oh, bad luck. But when you've been in that position many times, you know the exact point where it swung out of your favour.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also know luck had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere along the way, your preparation wasn't perfect. And you have to, when I think about that event in Long Beach, I know exactly where we lost the regatta. And when I think about the event in Sydney, I know exactly, actually it was the first day was where we actually did our best, because we weren't very good upwind in the really big breeze in the sea state. And we won that regatta with our downwind speed on the first day, because we'd get to the top mark and not great spots, and you get to the bottom in second or third.
Yeah.
So
you were very good at picking which downwind gate mark was favoured too. I remember watching your games every time at that gate. It was marvellous.
Yeah.
I don't know why I remember that, but it was clearly significant. So there you go.
Yeah, clearly.
Clearly. Oh, boy. My memory is hilarious. So the next question, what was, what TP52 series, what team did Terry act as both the tactician and a helmsman? We just spoke about quantum, and it features there in that picture. So anybody who got that question wrong is in big trouble.
Big trouble.
Very distinctive, that picture there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quantum racing, though, gosh, they pump out a lot of media. I actually have to thank Quantum Racing for how much they've done in terms of creating interest for people outside of sailing through social media, especially. Yeah, no, well, Keith Brash, who does a lot of their work, has done an incredible job over really the better part of a decade and a half. And I think, as you rightfully pointed out, they probably led a lot of that social media stuff. And with our team at American Magic, we measure a lot of our matrix off of how quantum racing does, because, because it's an incredible brand. It's an incredible team. And, the 52s themselves are, the boats themselves are just so much fun to sail. And, the racing is so incredibly tight, but it's, that whole circuit and how that circuit has evolved, how they've kept the circuit going together, the group of owners that race these boats, the mix between the owner driver and the pros and the speed that gets created out of the new designs. And, it's a really, really great playing field for everybody. So, and the racing's just incredible. Oh,
so,
the racing is amazing.
It's some of the best. Yeah.
The first one I witnessed, which you won in Key West in 2017, the last Key West race week. And there were 4 of you tied.
That was your first?
That was the first time I saw you guys racing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you won it, which is cool. I raced on Interlodge one day with Ian Walker up the back, and then the next day there were 4 of you tied for first.
Yeah. Going into the last race, and we had a cracking start. Doug did a really good job weaving our way through traffic on the start, and we just had this cracking start and got our nose out and won the race and won the regatta. So,
yeah, that was very cool.
It was that was a great, Key West. What a great event and a great venue, and that place was specifically designed for the TP52. I mean, that was just such an unbelievable spot to race those boats.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it was beautiful.
We have to resurrect it.
Can we do that? That would be
get it
ideal.
back.
Anybody watching? Yes, please. I really want to try and make that happen. And gosh, Quantum looked beautiful on that beautiful water too, with the black and white and the turquoise water. Oh gosh, it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
So the next question, and anybody who got this wrong is in big trouble as well. What does TP52 stand for, or what is it short for? And we had a Thomson Peters 52, a Telefonica 52, a Transat 52, or a Transpac 52. Tiana, how many people got this right? Please tell me lots.
A lot. Most people got it right, but 5 people said Telefonica 52.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oy vey.
Oh, wow. We all know it's a Transpac 52. Crikeys.
Yeah.
Alrighty. The next question. What was Terry Hutchinson's role on America 1 in the 2000 Louis Vuitton Cup? A lot of people thought you were tactician, Terry, when I had a look.
Wow. That's very
lovely.
We had a really, yes, we had a great tactician in that regatta, in John Kostecki.
And John Kostecki, exactly. And you were on the main trimmer.
I was.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was taking more advice from Sean Clarkson than I was. I would trim it on and he'd say, okay, stop there. So, but that was a, for an entry into the America's Cup and a entry into the whole world of it. I couldn't have asked for a better team to be involved with, because Paul Carrot had just come off of winning the Whitbread in 97 and 98. And obviously John Kostecki's pedigree, and he's just an incredibly naturally gifted, driven sailor. And so to have those two guys to be able to work for them and with them, and then the team that Paul put together, it was just a great experience. I mean, it was one of those that we did the absolute most that you could do with what we had. And I think it was a true testament really to how smart Paul was at the game, how smart John was at the game, and how we at least got all the way to the Louis Vuitton final, and what a lot of people would say today is still the best Challenger final that has happened.
It was incredible.
And came up a little bit short, but
we'll have
that's
to
life.
get T to watch that one on YouTube. Have you seen it?
No, not yet.
That might be part of your homework.
Yeah, sounds good.
I got it all right here.
You got it here? It must be amazing.
I got it all right here.
But I think the word that a lot of people used for that campaign was resourceful, for you guys.
Yeah, I mean that was again, I think if you use that word, which is probably pretty accurate, that's a lot of Paul's experience at the game, and a lot of the people on the senior side of the management of that team. They had a lot of America's Cup experience, and they'd come off of defending in ~95, where Paul worked for Dennis, and obviously Paul's success in '92. So there was a 10-year history really that he had in the boats, and that those guys had, and so there was a bunch of us. I mean, at the time, when Paul hired me, I was 28 years old.
Yeah, wow.
And so it's like, oh, okay, but it was something. I mean, I say it like that, but it was. I mean, I was chomping at the bits for the opportunity, and so when he hired me, it was whatever you want me to do, I'll do. And I was fortunate to be able to learn a completely different discipline. I wanted to, do John's job, or, be the tactician, or be the strategist, or be the backup helmsman, and really, had aspirations to do that. And very early on, Paul said, well, if you trim the main, I'll guarantee you that you sail the boat all the way through. And so I thought, well, okay. In the early part of it, I know I wasn't a very good mainsail trimmer. And at the end of it, I probably still wasn't a very good mainsail trimmer. But the neat thing about it was it taught you a completely different job on the boat. And from a team perspective, it gave you this massive appreciation for understanding the impact of the team dynamic of the boat, understanding the importance of everybody doing their job first before you get involved in somebody else's job. You think about when we race and we do all this sailing and how many boats you get on where people try to step on other people's toes and then their job ends up being the shortcoming. And in that, in retrospect, I probably didn't know it at the time, but in retrospect, one of the things that you quickly learn is when you're surrounded by 16 other really, really good sailors, you gotta do your job to the nth degree. And so that was a great entry into that, mindset and learning that lesson. And it gives you a great appreciation now when you get onto a TP52 and you go racing with Skip Baxter or Warwick Fleury or, guys who I would consider the top of of their trade in trimming the mainsail.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the gas pedal for the boat. And so it's, in that regard too, it's really, every time you sit next to one of those guys and you talk to them about their experience and what they're doing, trimming on the boat, it's just, it's like, wow, it's just, it's another level, but they're so good at their jobs that you enjoy being around it.
It's interesting though that you say that the older guys brought you on, took you on under their wing. And that's something that we see in sailing often is the continued backing for the younger generations.
Yeah, we have some great young guys on American Magic. Dan Morris and Mac Ignazi and Trevor Bird. They're super good athletes. They're good sailors, and they're becoming better sailors. And in that regard, it's exciting to watch that. I mean, Mac is 25 years old.
Oh, wow.
And, you can tell he's a really good sailor. He's a really good athlete. He's a really good sailor. But, he's learning and he's, you get onto the AC75 and it is straight into the deep end. And so, Mac, so he grinds and trims the jib. You're bearing away at pretty, you'd be passing cars going across the Sydney Harbor Bridge at the speeds that we're going. And so, and he's got a couple little adjustments that he's got to make on the boat. It's got to be done perfectly. And he's got goody chirping in his ear, ease a little bit more, not too much, and it's like, oh my God, hey, don't screw this up. Right.
Yeah.
No pressure. But it's fun to be around that energy because, the younger guys give as much to, the older guys, as hopefully we can give to them. And it's, being in the position that I'm in with the team, you can never thank those guys enough for what they bring. I'm not sure if they see it because, you have to get hit in the head a couple times, to see it. And yet, it's great to have them with us.
Well, it was probably the same with you. You just said how lucky you were to sail with Kostecki.
Oh yeah.
You were probably that. That's.
I wasn't. These guys are better.
Yeah.
Because I was a little bit more pig-headed. John had to ride me a little bit, and rightfully so. And in retrospect, it was some of that sailing was some of the best sailing to have been involved with. The 2007 campaign with Team New Zealand was awesome to be involved with. This campaign that we're doing right now it's awesome to be involved with because the boat is exceptionally cool and it's so much different than anything, like I was saying earlier, that I've experienced, that it's really fun in that regard to be a part of it. And yet,
groundbreaking.
We're still writing the story. Yeah. And we're still writing the story. So we gotta make sure the story has a good ending.
That's what everybody wants, really, isn't it? But as you mentioned,
Yep.
we'll go back to the trivia.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
So the next question, you like that photo? Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
How many America's Cup campaigns has Terry Hutchinson been a part of? We could track down 4. So America 1.
Are you counting this one?
This one, yeah.
You're counting
4?
this one?
Is it 5 with this
No,
one?
I didn't.
Not
No,
this
I
one.
didn't.
5 with this one.
5 with this one. So 4 previously.
Yeah.
So yeah. So America 1 was your first. Then your second was Emirates.
Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes.
And
Emirates.
Then, and then Team New Zealand, and then Artemis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Artemis. Did you sail with Goody then as well? Because you mentioned Paul Goodison just before.
No. So So I was there through 2012.
Yeah.
So stepped away a bit before. Yeah.
Yeah. The hard times with Artemis. Yikes. Let's move on from that. Sending love to all involved. Yikes.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next question is our Emirates question. But yes, we'll say 4 campaigns. 5, including this one. Who was Terry Hutchinson tactician for in the 2007 America's Cup? And this is where a lot of the relationships that we see in this current campaign. It was Emirates, Team New Zealand. Hooray!
Yep.
With the mighty Dean Barker, who's now back on with American Magic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a it's a one of the things that the experience at Artemis taught me was if I want to steer the boat, I can't do anything else because it requires a singular focus. And Dean has the experience. We get asked all the time, why is Dean Barker the helmsman?
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple because he has the experience across all the foiling America's Cup cycles. He has experience at the game. When we were helmsman and tactician, we're the only combination there that has won the Louis Vuitton series in a sweep over the course of that competition, which was exciting. And I can't think of a person who's been at this game as long as Dean has, who's due to have one of these regattas go his way. And when you look at guys like Ed Baird, you look at Grant Dalton, guys who have persevered through the good times and the bad of it, it all comes right.
Yep.
And so, this is a different one yet again. And every day that we're out there sailing, I know we're lucky as a team to have Dean steering the boat. He brings the right demeanor to the boat. He's, his skills are never really in question. You don't have to worry about on the day what Dean Barker is going to show up. You're always going to get the same consistent, this inward aggression person that is also very cool and calculated. We spent 2018 doing the quantum racing. And so we kind of, reminded ourselves of all the things, and it was fun to go racing again. 10 years passed from what we had done in 2007. And in between those 10 years, there was a lot of yelling and screaming at each other and great competition. And the one thing that, through all of it, never lost any respect for him as a person or as a competitor. And so I'm excited for how well that relationship picked up. And, he and I are quite different people, which is another, I think, strength to the whole thing. So, but yeah, we got a long way to go. And, you put somebody like Paul Goodison into the mix, who's just incredibly good. It's just, again, there's another guy that is just like, man, he is so good at the understanding of the boat. He's got a little bit of mad scientist about him.
Yeah.
He's had some time steering the boat as well, and it's been exciting to watch him do that because he's very good at, he's an Olympic champion, and so clearly he's a good sailor. And Andrew Campbell, who's the flight controller, and Andrew's just got this perfect demeanor for his job. And it wasn't, when we put this band together, kind of, you knew where Goody was going to fit in, and you knew what he was going to do, and you knew what Dean was going to do. And Andrew was kind of one of these, he was hired to kind of he and I would work together but as the boat evolved, he stepped up and said, hey, can I take this job on? Here you go. And he's absolutely the right person for the job. His attention to detail is exactly what we need. So it's exciting to watch.
It's really interesting as well that you said with Dean and Goodison as well. I mean, they've both had big losses, and we spoke earlier in the show about those losses and where you know that you made the error. And I firmly believe sometimes you learn so much from a big loss. It could be a strength.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, you learn a lot more from losing than you do from winning. Winning masks all the problems. I mean, when you lose, it highlights where you're weak. Yeah. When you win, you're still weak, but it hides, you have the taste of the success. And so I would absolutely say that what you just said is 100% accurate. And losing also makes you appreciate how hard it is to win. Yeah. And so, we have to go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and then with the national thing as well, because this America's Cup is a little bit more strict than we've seen in past years. So you have Dean, who's a Kiwi, and Paul, who's British, technically.
As far as I can tell, they're all American.
Okay.
So
they've been adopted.
We're claiming them. But Dino moved back to the States right after Bermuda. So he's lived, since 2017 he's lived, spent a year in Park City and did that, and then obviously moved to Newport. And Goody came, as soon as we got the residency requirements and we knew what that was going to look like, those guys straight away moved. Yep. And set themselves up in the US.
Yeah, there's Aussies that are now UK. There's Kiwis that are US. There's Aussies that are Italian.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems
it's a unique blend. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's move on to the next question. So that was Emirates to New Zealand. And then this is an interesting one actually. What major event did Terry Hutchinson win as skipper in 2011-2012? A, the TP52 series, B, the World Match Racing Tour, C, the Rolex Big Boat Series, which could still go ahead in September. We'll see. I'll be there if it does.
That would be great if it did.
Yeah, I'm meant to be there commentating, so we'll see. Or the Transpac yacht race, which hopefully will go ahead next year. So we know it's the World Match Racing Tour. So you do have some match racing under your belt. I had a few people.
Little.
Just a little? Just a little?
A little. Yeah, just a little.
The amount of questions we had about the experience that you might have with match racing as opposed to fleet racing, and then the relationship with Dean Barker, and I think we've spoken about that at length, but match racing, if it comes down to it.
Yeah. No, it's I'm sure in some capacity it will, but if I had to choose better match racing skills or a faster boat, I'd go with a faster boat because it makes the match racing skills really easy. And so, it's going to be, we haven't done any racing in the boats, so we're all going to get thrown into the fire. And, I think in that regard, it'll be interesting to see, but, this is more so than ever, especially with the upwind start now. The reaching start and the bear away to a downwind leg really highlighted keeping the boats close. The upwind start, it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out and what that looks like, because I would suspect the faster boat there really is going to just bugger off and go. And from there, it's about executing the maneuvers and staying in good pressure.
And a question that I want to ask, how close can you get these boats to one another with the apparatus?
Yeah. They haven't defined completely, but there'll be probably a 1 meter diamond around the boat where you can't, if you infringe the space, then as much as anything, you'll end up getting a penalty.
So it's a hull
But
extension.
we're still, yes. So we're still waiting to get that information, and really missing those two events in Italy and in the UK. Put all of us a bit on the back foot, but it's even for everybody. So you can't really, in some capacity, I would say there that the challengers, knowing that we're going to do the Christmas Cup and then have the Challenger Selection Series, it's a good situation to be a challenger, because we'll have a lot more racing than the Defender will.
Yeah, indeed. And in this America's Cup, I was trying to explain to T, we're more traditional, where the Defender isn't taking part in the Challenger Series, which we saw in Bermuda. Yeah. Back to normal.
Yeah, no, it's it is again, it's funny how this one has all played out, and each team is writing their own story, and so there'll be 3 teams with a sad ending and 1 team with a smile on their face when it's all over. So, yeah.
Golly, you just don't know yet.
I know what book I want to write.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. I know what book that 14-year-old would want to write, so we'll stick with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
So,
that's right. And the amazing thing is probably it's the success probably has already been determined by the design teams.
Yeah, you mentioned the faster boat will take off, and I remember us saying, a fast boat makes a tactician look good.
Oh yeah.
It's the easiest.
Absolutely. It is the easiest boat to win on.
Yeah. And anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
We will soon see.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
It will be exciting. So the last question for the trivia, which was won by Stake Outry, by the way, everybody, is fill in the blank. Terry Hutchinson is an blank time world champion. I think it was given away by saying an, because the only answer there that starts with a vowel is 11. For any grammatical nerds out there, I'll always make sure that questions are at least grammatically correct. Little hint. 11 time world champion. So J24, Corel, TP.
Actually,
72.
Yeah, the J24, the TP. I'm looking. All right.
Yeah.
Can we do a little tour?
Yeah. Can we?
Are we allowed to? Are we allowed
Yes,
to do?
please.
Yeah. Are we allowed to do a little tour?
Yeah. Take us for a walk.
It's
I'd
a
love
bit.
this.
It's a bit of a mess.
No,
but
that's okay.
I will.
Please take us for a walk.
So, if you look up on you can see around the walls there. Yeah. So all the boats up there are boats that I've won world championships in.
Amazing.
So actually, it's 16.
Oh.
So
16.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right.
How did you get that so wrong?
It's okay.
Oh my goodness.
Because the one that's actually wrong is the Teton in the Corel 45. We were second.
Yeah. So there you go.
So
Oh,
that's all right.
I'm sorry.
She did
can't
try
trust
to
the
email
internet.
you. In her defense, she did try to email you about it.
She did. I know, and I was horrible because I'm sorry. It's my fault.
Nah.
It's not.
No,
you,
it's not your
me.
fault.
No, it's all good.
Yes, it is.
It's all good. No, it's all
Yeah.
good fun. I think.
Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, it's amazing if it was 11, but 16 is incredible as well. And I mean, even talking to Bob Fisher about 3 Hornet World Championships and a Fireball World Championship, I think that's incredible. All these things that people have done which are underestimated. I think even a Hornet Nationals in the UK, which he's won 4 of as well, would have been like a Worlds.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but you know what? To keep it kind of all on an even keel, so to speak, you're only as good as your last race.
Exactly.
And so.
So what was your last race? Wednesday.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about the Maxi Worlds in Bellamente last year, which we won the last race. So, and we won on Wednesday night. So,
Yeah, there you go. 2 wins.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
No, I'm not sure that counts. So, because it was a big smiling race. That's for sure. That's what that race was about.
Oh, excellent.
But
I'm just trying. I'm just trying actually now to get a photo. One of our followers has actually sent me a photo of you and said that maybe this was one of your best moments. I just can't get it to download. Hang on. I'm going to try though. Ah, there it is. Here we go. So one of our
Oh dear.
one of our followers sent us this photo and said, you know, maybe you're as good as this race. See if I can get it for you. Here we go. There. I'll just give you a little flash.
That would have
of
been
it.
my senior year in high school.
Yeah, it was a while ago apparently.
One of the neat things about growing up in Annapolis and back when that picture was taken was I was the Naval Academy would allow me to come out and train with them when I was in high school because my high school was, you know, it's a 5-minute walk over to the Naval Academy, and so this was a time where you could come in onto the academy grounds, and you know it was a little bit more relaxed, and so I would rig up and go sailing with their college sailing team.
So that's from Blake Middleton,
Yep.
who sends his best, and he calls this one laser gymnastics.
Yep.
He commented
he's right.
on the
Blake is a good man.
Yeah, he's a great man. Yeah, so
All
shout
right.
out to Blake and anybody else from the US who's watching. But he mentioned it in the comments, and Tiana picked up on it. And before Tiana had even messaged me the comment, I had the photo in text to me, so that was quite fun. But yeah, it's I guess that's another form of the community that we know and love in sailing as well. Like it's what keeps us going. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. And sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to say Blake's a great guy. You know, he's done an incredible job at running races and keeping sailing going in Minnesota out on Lake Minnetonka. And so, thank you for sharing that picture, Blake.
No, so awesome. I actually met Blake.
Yeah.
He's one of my original followers from back in MySpace days in 2004.
All right.
Yeah, and I met him when he came to Sydney, and we've been good mates ever since. So he's definitely one of the fellow diehards. So great guy.
Awesome.
But on that, we wish you all the best with everything. It's great to hear that you'll be able to get into New Zealand at least. That must be a massive relief.
Yes. Yeah, massive.
Yeah.
Massive
Thanks to
relief.
Avatar.
No. Yeah.
You'll love
it's
that
a
movie
unique
now.
experience. Yeah. Like I said, this is one for the ages. So we're just, we're grateful that it's all gone in the right direction. And there were a lot of people inside New Zealand, and obviously the, from afar, you'd have to say that the government and the Prime Minister have done an incredible job of managing a very difficult situation. So we're grateful that they gave us our exemptions, and we look forward to getting to the Southern Hemisphere.
100%. I mean, there were a lot of people only 2 months ago who would have bet money on the Cup not happening. So the ability for New Zealand to get on board, realise it's important, and for you all to realise how important it is as well. I think health has to be the focus of 2020, and then if we do that, we'll be able to make 2021 one hell of a year. So
absolutely. Be rude not to.
Exactly. We're going to bring it back. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us.
Nice.
Hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
Nick.
Oh, no, thank you.
Yes.
And thanks for sharing all your stories, and good luck to everybody who's heading down to New Zealand.
Thanks.
Indeed. We'll see you very soon. If you stay on the line for me, Terry, I'll grab you in just one sec. Everybody else, next week, it was meant to be the start of the Newport Bermuda race. So I was meant to be there again. Love that race. We should have Summers Kemp with us, John Burnham with us. We'll also have the race chairman, and we'll be talking about how you can get involved and race the race virtually. So we'll be looking back at the last edition, the first time we saw multis racing. Of course, Wizard took the win in the Gibbs Lighthouse division, and we saw Grundoon take the win. Fantastic race. So make sure you join us all next week. That will be at 10 a.m. Aussie time, which will be 8 p.m. EST. And so we'll hope to see you all then. Thank you so much again, Terry, and have a fantastic week, everybody. Stay safe.